Hey guys, so I'll give you a little video rundown of what I'm out here doing today. There, I think it'll focus on that. Last time we set these up at our meet, we have quite the jump between these two. So much so that a 482 locomotive will high center on this and lose either the pilot truck will come off or it'll just high center and it can't get pickup and it'll just stall right there. Now the rule is laying on top of the rail. I've got it supported with some 1, 2, 3 blocks back there, and if you look, there is a little bit of daylight underneath here. So there, I measured it with some feeler gauges. There's about 8 thou on this one, and out here, if you laid the rule from here out, it's about 6 thousandths. So the rail itself is fairly flat, and when I put these together, when I made the module and I laid this section of masonite, I used a square on it. But apparently it's not square enough. So now I'm trying to figure out how to fix this. This end right here, which is roughly 6 inches out or 7 inches out, it's more than 80 thousandths from the bottom of the rule to the top of the rail head. So if I split that in half, that means I got to raise this out here about 40 thousandths. And that this deck plate is 6 inches long, which I'm thinking I can get a couple little wedges under there and raise that up. I have to make sure that I don't put too much of a hump in it. See that? Well, it's pretty flat. When I built them on this tabletop, upside down. Everything was clamped down, and if there is a slight bow to this table, then yes, everything would have had a little bit of an angle to it. I just never imagined that it would add up to that much. And the other thing that I thought might have caused the problem is the fact that I did not paint this side of the frame before I laid my track, and I painted this side, and I wonder if the paint and then the glue or something caused this to cup a little bit. If I lay my longer, it's hard to lay my longer straight edge across the curve. So if I go from the end of the module to here, you might be able to see that. There's a little bit of a gap. Much more than a little bit. That's probably maybe a 30 thousandths gap. Well, that would do it. Because it's basically hitting right here where those feeler gauges are. It's touching the rail here and touching the rail down here at the end point, and there's about a 30 thou gap right in here, and that would give you the little ski jump at the end. So I'm going to get some shims and we'll wedge them under there. I won't glue anything in place yet, and we'll see if we can't get that out and see if that takes care of it. So I'll be right back. Okay, that worked pretty well. I still have a little bit of a low spot right here by my thumb. Get that down there. You can see daylight. You can see my finger down there. On that track it's worse, but that's right where a rail joiner is, and I think I can shim that up pretty easily. This rail, same sort of a thing right in that one vicinity. I'm not sure why that happened, but that one's much milder, and you can see that the ends of the straight edge are touching, so it's nowhere near as out of wumpus as it was. Well, let me take you down below here. So what I did was I just cut some 3/4 by 1.5 inches or whatever it was, cut them into little wedge shapes and pushed them in there. I haven't got any wood glue or anything, or just testing it, but that's how I did it. And then I'll just glue them in place, wedge them back in there, and we'll call it good. And I'll do a little, I'll break the track loose in this area here and this area here, and shim that up a little bit with a little bit of paper, cardboard, whatever, and get that nice and flat, and we'll glue it back down, and things should be good then. I do have a 210-2 on order from Bachmann, and that should be quite the ultimate test of whether this is good enough for steam trains to go across. The diesels had no problem with it. Mid-module join right there, and this one, a bit of a similar problem, complicated by the fact that there's a switch machine right underneath of there. But I think with the same sort of a technique, I can get that one much flatter anyway. And we'll see how that works. So to wrap up, I fixed the problem, I believe. We'll see next time I set these up with other modules, but verify at the ends of your module that your track work is square. And I haven't shimmed the track here yet, but you can see that it is very square to the end plate. At least I could fix it with this method, with the sub roadbed. If you were laying this on foam, you would have to tear up your track and relay in order to get that fixed. One of our members has been making foam. He used the same end plates that I did, but he put the 2-inch foam in here, which is fine, but he didn't check it to make sure that the foam was the same thickness all the way through, and his has a big hump out here in the middle. So always check, where your roadbed is going to be, your track is going to be, from end to end with a long straight edge. Give you a shot down the track. You can see there's a little bit of humpiness there. If I back up. So this is that other end. You see that right there? There is a slight gap, so this rail's got a little bit of a dip in it. And until I get that 210-2, I don't know how much actual dip you can have. All of this relates to a problem that a thread on Model Railroad Hobbyist about vertical easements and long wheelbase steam locomotives. I'll get the other two modules set up and we'll talk about that. So when I started making this series of videos on rebuilding my FreeMo N series modules, we started with the teardown and reasons why I wanted to rebuild the cold store module. Well, this is the cold store module frame set. As you can see, there's no sub roadbed, there's no track work or anything else on it. It's just the set of frames. So the way the track plan is that you have a main line that comes in here, a turnout that creates a passing siding, second turnout which leads to a spur that leads off on that side would be the spur that goes down the hill, down grade, to PDM steel. So this is heading downhill and will turn out industrial siding down here. This end also has a turnout, passing siding, comes off the main and comes down this way. Again, this is a fill and these are coming downhill. This from here onward will be the cold store Columbia cold storage facility. So my discussion on MRH is in regards, you saw how little vertical humps caused problems for steam locomotives. My question was, how much vertical easement do I need to get long equipment? Because these modules, you never know what somebody's going to show up with to run on your module. They could be running DD40AXs or long passenger equipment. Now, granted, this is a siding for a refrigeration plant, so it's supposed to be more than likely going to be just full of reefers or insulated boxcars. But on the other side, where it goes to PDM, I've seen them park way freights in there with all sort of auto racks or whatever, just to get them off the main so they can let a Amtrak go through or something else. So you never know what's going to be parked in there, and that's where the conversation comes up about what percentage rate of change do you allow on a siding like this. My rule of thumb has been 0.5% rate of change per foot. So you'd start off down here, the dead level, 0.5%, go a foot. You could increase the rate of change by 0.5%. So you get 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%. And then take the same amount of time to level back out. So it takes you 3 feet to get to 1.5%, something like that. End scale, it's like 40 thou every foot, something like that. But it's not much, and it takes a while. And if you shorten that up, you may run the risk of having locomotives high center, stall, derail, that sort of thing. So I'm just putting this out there to anybody who's building FreeMo modules. Keep that in mind. And then before you take your modules in, it might be a good idea to build yourself a small clamp-on module that you can double check, something that you know is square and that you know you bolt it up to the end of everybody else's module, check it out, make sure it's flat and level, and then bolt that onto the end to check your track work again and see how stuff rolls across it. And if you have a longer wheelbase steam loco or a big DD40AX or a low-slung flat car, depressed center, something like that, check your clearances between the railhead and the bottom of the flat car or the locomotive or whatever it is to see if it's going to rub or hang up or air hoses are going to catch or if it's going to uncouple stuff if your vertical easements are too much. Thing that I am going to do, I've decided that I'm not using foam, which is originally what this was set up for, but what I will do is I will put in a vertical T underneath my sub-road bed, so it'll lay on here, and that will make sure that this is absolutely square and flat all the way along, and give it some support. Yes, I'll have to chop it out for switch machines. Fortunately, there's no switch machines here, but down at this end, I will have, comes on to the module, have a switch machine right in this area, and another one right here at the passing siding, and same down there. But food for thought. Thanks.